Hello, YouTube. This is Mage Power. I am back, and I got some stuff here to talk about. This is a video I've been planning for a while. I want to talk about why this is the perfect time to sell off during this collector's boom. Part of it, first thing, obviously I can't say a specific name here on YouTube, but we all know that this is part of the Crush Card times. We know people are going to be coming back playing the game IRL. We've already started to see people play virtually, and because of that, we know that people are going to be buying the cards to play with. Therefore, there's going to be less money to spend on collectibles. First of all, that's the first thing. But obviously, you can see up here on the screen. Oh, it's this way today. I've got all my stuff flipped around here. I apologize because I just got my monitors back. A lot of my settings got screwed up, so I'm still working with this, but we are plunging right through this. You can see this was the OCG 20th Anniversary Duelist box. This is something that came out, as you can see, in 2018. That is because their 20th anniversary was 2018. Our anniversary for the 20th anniversary is coming up here very, very soon. The first cards we got here in the TCG came out, I believe it was either the start of 02 or the end of 01, right around there. We only have a few months before a big announcement could really hit the collector's market, because this product did very well in the OCG. If you go and you look up listings for this sealed, you'll see this little box now is selling for hundreds of dollars. Literally, I've seen listings $350, $400, and it's not a lot of cards in there. Konami might look at this and say, here, that was so great over there, collector's market's doing well, here, let's cash in ourselves, let's do this. You know, this is not something that's completely out of the realm of possibilities that Konami TCG decides this is a good idea, and obviously it did well in the OCG. This is something that I believe Konami TCG will look at and do, that seems pretty good. So I think you need to look out for something like this. Just to give you an idea, some of the things that weren't in here that for those of you who don't know, I'm going to run through this for you guys. So obviously we got stainless steel cards of Dark Magician and Blue Eyes White Dragon. Obviously, keep in mind, they're not necessarily going to do word for word, verbatim, exactly everything that's in here if they do one for us. But you would have to think that a lot of the ace monsters, so to speak, so Dark Magician is one of them, Blue Eyes White Dragon is another one. Down here you see there's another Dark Magician, there's an Elemental Hero Neos, there's a Stardust Dragon, there's a Utopia, there's an Odd Eyes Pendulum Dragon, and a Decode Talker. You would have to think, at least in some sense, those cards would probably be the same. I could see possibly maybe Decode becoming Firewall, Odd Eyes becoming a different possible Odd Eyes maybe, but really you would expect to see that because it's the history of the game. So a lot of these, especially looking at your mid-range collectibles, would be up for being reprinted. If you have the really high-end stuff, like DDS Blue Eyes, for example, that's probably fine. That's way too expensive to really even be touched by a reprint. But these are going to be, probably new rarities like you see. Like you see, this is 20th Secret Rare for the OCG. It's a rarity that they've never done again and never had before. And they had tokens for all the different characters. Yami Yugi, Jaden, Yusei, Yuma, Yuya, Playmaker. And then you have various supports for all the different stuff over the years. Dark Magician support with the Magician of Chaos, Eternal Soul, Elemental Hero support, including a Shining Flare Wingman, including Nebula Neos. You have Junks, like Junk Speeder, Junk Synchron, Doppel Warrior. You have a Utopia double in here. You have Shining Draw, Double or Nothing. You have Odd Eyes Saber Dragon, Smile World, Duelist Alliance, bunch of Code Talker stuff like Decode Construction, Backup Supervisor. there's a whole bunch of stuff that they could easily go through and say, this is really good, this could use a reprint. So anything especially close to the history of Yu-Gi-Oh! And the anime is definitely something that I would at least be a little bit concerned about. I'm not saying panic sell right now, but you also look at the collector's market, given the history of what's transpired over about the last year or so, and you have to look and think, this can't last forever. I'm not saying the collector's market is going to crash. It's not. The collector's market will survive no matter what. But there is definitely going to be places where, it'll dip, it'll come back, and it'll dip, it'll come back. Right now, we're way up. This is a very inflated collector's market due to world events. I think we are definitely due for at least some kind of a dip here. Honestly, not that long from now. I think, especially with a possibility of a set like this, and with just normal events coming back here, I would expect normal events to be back definitely by the end of the year at the rate things are going. And best case scenario, obviously, I'm not a doctor, I can't speak to that, but it would not be crazy, in my opinion, if we had normal events back by the end of summer. At that point, people are not going to be spending as much money on collector's cards, and so therefore they're going to be putting that money into, the cards they actually need to play. Obviously the people who are already in the collector's market before all this started, they're still going to be there, and I think you might gain a couple people as well, because, well, they're into collectibles. But generally speaking, a lot of people, when all this goes away, they're going to hop off of this collector's market ride, and you're going to see at least some of it come down. Obviously, plan accordingly. Like I said, it's not all going to hype up and stay up. Some of it will, because it's just ridiculous. I think you look at cards like Blue Eyes, the high-end Blue Eyes, high-end Dark Magician, those are going to be cards that everybody's going to always want. I think the odds of those crashing like other things is much less. But you take a look at things possibly like an Ultimate Rare Decode Talker might take a small hit. Because if a reprint comes out that looks really good, for example, if you take this 20th Secret Rare, compare that to, say, a Prismatic. Prismatic or a Starlight. That's actually what I'm thinking of, excuse me. So imagine, all of a sudden we get a Starlight, Dark Magician, Neo, Stardust, Utopia, Odd Eyes Pendulum, and Decode Talker. All of the ones that are now lower rarity, and I would include an Ultimate Rare Decode in this discussion, all of a sudden they probably dip at least a little bit because they're no longer as collectible. Because now there's a new big boy in town, they're going to be expensive. So if you could imagine something like a Starlight Rare Dark Magician, well, obviously, a DDS Dark Magician is probably still going to hold value, but that Starlight is now going to be competing with it for price, and a Starlight, honestly, of Dark Magician would fetch a lot of money, and I don't think anybody can deny that. It's just something to keep in mind. I'm not trying to spread fear or anything like that, but, obviously, invest in the collector's market accordingly. I'm not saying that this is something you need to go out and sell right now, but it is a very good time to sell, in my personal opinion. Just, obviously, do what you must. Take advantage, do your research, do your homework, and I think the collector's market is due for some regression. Anyways, if you did like this video, I do have one thing to shout out here at the end of the video. If you've been hearing this background music, I do want to shout out Chill Hop Radio. They are now officially a part of this channel. If you want to check them out, there will be a link down below. I urge all my content creators that watch this out there, check them out. They are not someone who you can play just by playing them. However, if you do, they have instructions. You can go in onto their website and you can just follow their instructions. As long as you credit them accordingly, none of your content, none of your Twitch streams, none of it will be hit by DCMA, by anything like that. I very much urge you to check them out. They have been very kind in this time, knowing that people are struggling to find some decent music, and they have decided to allow anybody who is willing to at least promote them accordingly use any of their music. So, thank you. This is United We Stand, in Mage Power We Trust.